Hey everybody, just taking a quick break here from the old shop, milling and grinding some saw teeth and profiles on blades and stuff, like I was talking about in the video yesterday. One of the things that I promised is we're going to give an update on some of the shop progress and what we're going to be doing to speed things up. I mentioned before in the newsletter, if you're subscribed to that on my website. If you're not, I strongly recommend you go there. It's very simple to do. You just put in your email address, and basically whenever an update goes out, you automatically get the email. If you don't like it, you just delete it. If you want, you can claim knives, that way they come up and so forth. But it makes it a lot easier on me because I'm trying to consolidate all of my communications through email. I've had, like probably a lot of other guys that sell and make knives and other stuff. You wind up getting, communications in Instagram, Facebook, through the website, YouTube, and all this stuff. So when you go back through text messages and you try and go through your order information, it makes it very difficult because you got to check 4 or 5 different platforms. So anyway, that's a side point, but you should check the newsletter out and get on there because you'll find out the latest information going on in the shop that way. And it goes, like I said, right to your email whenever a knife comes up available or something like that if somebody cancels. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to talk about, the primary thing, is probably here in the next, 1 to 2 months or so. What I'm going to start doing is having some of my processes, or at least the blade profiles for a couple of models, subbed out through either laser or water jet or something, and have the profiles and the blanks cut out and sent to me. It's not something I take lightly. I've always prided myself on doing everything in-house except heat treat. Heat treat I've always had subbed out because in the beginning I didn't have a place to put a heat treat oven, and I also deal primarily in stainless steel. So the current thinking is you get the most performance out of stainless steel if you do a cryogenic temper. That requires either dry ice and or liquid nitrogen or a combination of things, plus a heat treat oven, and I just didn't have the room for that, and I didn't want to waste time on the learning curve to dial in the best heat treat for my steels. So I sent it out to professionals. That doesn't bother me because I'm still doing all the other work, and that's what those guys do, is heat treat all day, every day. Plus they hardness test every blade. For me, it was a no-brainer for the way I make knives. Now, other guys may do it differently. I know some guys don't really think you're a real knife maker if you don't do your own heat treating. That's entirely your business, and everybody gets to have their own opinion, and I respect that. But for me, I've always subbed out the heat treat from the beginning, and I've been very transparent about that. Otherwise, though, everything else is done in-house. I mean, I make everything down to threaded pins and fixtures and little pieces. Just everything is done in-house. So I've always been very proud of that because I get to say I have 100% is done here. The problem I'm facing now is I have a lot of orders, and I keep getting orders, which is a good thing because it means guys are getting more knives, and it means I get to stay busy doing what I like to do. But I can't keep up. And one of the most time-intensive parts of the process is making, blade blanks and profiles. To go from, a bar of steel like this here to, let's just say a blade blank that's ready to go to heat treat like this, depending on what you got going on, can take a couple of hours. Especially if you got a milled saw teeth. And with these hollow handle knives, I have to be extremely precise about the tang, the hole in the tang, the guard shoulders, and a number of other things. It has to be just right. I can't just go in there and, on some hidden tang knives, as long as you get the guard shoulders right, it doesn't really matter because the rest are going to get shoved into a handle, pinned, and then filled with epoxy. And I'm not knocking those guys or anybody that does that because I make hidden tang knives too. They're a little more forgiving in some ways than these hollow handle knives. They have to be done just right, and I believe in being, thorough and very consistent, so I don't just, blast these things out. Anyway, so I'm going to be doing that. The upshot is once I get that first cycle going and they start doing, some of these blade blanks for me, that's going to tremendously speed up the process. And so instead of taking, Anyway, there's no sense getting into all the details because it doesn't really matter, and frankly, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out just yet. But I've looked into it, spoken with a couple of guys. We feel very good about where we're going with this. And so we're going to be doing that very soon, probably on the next batch or the next batch from now. So, especially for models like the SS2, I get, excuse me, I get a lot of orders for the SS2s, and man, I tell you, milling those saw teeth, as much as I don't enjoy doing it at all, it takes up a lot of time when you got a stack of blades this thick. I mean, you got to do them in batches and stuff. And I don't have a huge, mill the size of a car. So I got to find a way to speed this up, or I'm going to just be, mired forever in just profiling blades and milling saw teeth. So the quality is not going to go down. We're going to do a couple of test proofs and make sure that everything is good. And then we're going to go from there. And I'm still going to be putting finishing touches. Like I'll probably go through there and, run a final pass on the guard shoulders and the tang and make sure everything is exactly where I want it to be. But that is the future where we're headed with this right now. So that's good news. Like on knives like this, like the M1, I do fewer of these, so it's not that big of a deal. Usually I do one or two of these at a time. So, and these saw teeth are all in a straight line. You mill those, you profile the blade. It's still a pain, don't get me wrong. I mean, like we saw in the video last night, this steel is like 270 thou thick, 2 inches wide. Almost a 10-inch long blade. That's a beast of a knife, man. But I believe this is the right way for me to go right now, and I just want to let everybody know what's going on. I believe in being transparent, and this wasn't a decision that I took lightly. I put a lot of thought into this and decided this was the best route to go, as opposed to just jumping on a bandwagon or whatever else. Kind of like what happened with, I don't want to step on any toes, but with the whole it's got to be a full tang knife. It's got to be carbon steel to be a bushcraft knife. Guys, a lot of this stuff, this is my opinion. So, take it for what it's worth. A lot of this stuff was pushed by guys just trying to make life easier on themselves. 3-piece knives, it's a full tang knife because you got the blade and 2 handle slabs. Doesn't really count the hardware, but the commonly called in the knife making world 3-piece knife. Guys, they're easy to make. And again, no disrespect to any maker that specializes in 3-piece knives or full tang or whatever you want to call them. I make them too. But they're super easy to make. So you get the blade, you bolt on your handle material, and then basically you just grind away everything on the handle that isn't hardened steel. And then you shape and profile the handle. So that makes it a lot easier. There's no fitting of guards. There's no attachment methods or things you have to worry about. You can blast those out all day long. And same thing with carbon steel. The whole, it's got to be carbon steel. I like stainless. I like stainless for a number of reasons, but it provides a number of benefits, especially, where I lived in Portland at the time. And, just regardless of being able to do two-tone finishes and things like that, stainless provides a number of advantages. And as far as edge holding too and so forth, if you have everything done properly. But carbon steel was pushed so hard. Why? Again, in my opinion, number one, it's super cheap compared to stainless. The same blade in stainless, just the blade blank, the piece of steel, may cost 2, 3, or 4 times as much, depending on what stainless and what carbon steel you're comparing them to. Second is ease of heat treatment. Some of these carbon steels you can literally heat treat with a blowtorch. I mean, I've done that on like 1084 and similar steels that are very simple, but they're good steels. But you can heat treat them with a torch, to get the hardness and then temper them back. It's very simple. With stainless, to do it right, you're going to need a kiln and probably some method of doing cryogenic tempering to really extract the most performance out of that stainless steel. Well, a lot of guys don't want to do that, and that's fine too. No disrespect, there's a place at the table for everybody. But so they had to push this whole thing. Carbon steel, it's the best way. And it does offer some advantages, and some of the carbon steels do offer higher toughness depending on what you're doing. But to say that carbon steel is definitively better for bushcraft or any other kind of knife is, whatever. But they are a lot easier to heat treat. And honestly, they're also a lot easier to grind because a lot of the alloying elements that make stainless steel rust resistant also contribute greatly to its wear resistance. So it makes them more difficult to grind, you use more belts, and so on and so forth. Plus carbon steel hand sands easier if you're doing that, because again, for the same reason, it's much less wear resistant than things in stainless like chromium and nickel and other things that just, vastly contribute to the wear resistance of the steel and the resistance to abrasion whenever you're sanding or grinding or whatever else. So anyway, I didn't mean to step on any toes. I'm not calling anybody out. I just, sometimes you look at this stuff and it's like, well, why would you do that? Oh, it's easier. It's cheaper. That's fine. Do what you got to do. But for the way I've gone, for me personally, is with stainless and, a lot of other milling and other types of finishes and stuff that pretty much requires stainless. Plus, I prefer stainless. It's much more maintenance free, especially if something goes wrong or whatever else. So anyway, I will post an update when I start getting some of the profile blades back, and as we go through the process, keep everybody updated. But I wanted to let you know it wasn't a decision we took lightly. This is done to improve the whole process and make it faster and better, and also so you guys can get your knives in a more reasonable amount of time. That was one of the things I gave a lot of thought to while I was away from the shop and unable to make knives, is we got to find a way to speed this up. So anyway, that's the plan. I hope you guys are having a great day. Sorry to keep drinking the coffee on camera here, but this is a delicious French roast. Very good, very deep, very smooth. So anyway, makes the day go by better. I hope you have a good one. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for your support. I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you.